Oh, Biden is live, folks. Let's watch.
We didn't get into all of this overnight.
We're fucking riding, boys.
Get out of it overnight either. But we will get through it, and we'll get through it together. And today, I'd like to talk more about what that means in sparing no effort. I mean sparing no effort to get Americans vaccinated. Vice President Harris and I, we just received a briefing from our COVID team. Truthfully, we remain in a very dark winter. Infection rates are up 34%. More people are being hospitalized because of COVID than ever before. We're up to between 3,000 and 4,000 deaths per day as we approach a grim milestone of 400,000 deaths in America. That's staggering, to state the obvious. I know the pain that so many of you are experiencing right now, starting by sitting down for breakfast this morning and staring at an empty chair around the kitchen table where a loved one used to sit, laugh, talk about how you love one another. I know the frustration that we're all feeling. Almost a year later, we're still far from back to normal. The honest truth is this: things will get worse before they get better. I told you I'll always level with you. You know, and the policy changes that we're going to be making are going to take time to show up in the COVID statistics. And they're not just statistics.
Law 377, Andy. Dude, when do you guys think he's going to stop doing these? Because I feel like it takes up way too much of his fucking bandwidth that he doesn't even have anyway. And also on top of that, it's like he's just saying the same shit every day. And even the fucking tepid liberals in my audience who come in here for like a commentary and maybe a little bit of leftist radicalization have to start recognizing that, like, oh no, like all of these are the exact same. And ultimately, what is going to happen is like, oh, isn't it so great to have a president who can speak clear sentences and read a teleprompter? Is going to get old. Like, I know that is a big deal for some of you. That like, oh, having a president like clearly communicate the problems ahead. But like, it kind of doesn't matter, because if he's communicating the problems ahead and no one's listening, then you're missing the point. Two, if he's constantly saying the same old shit over and over again, after a while, you're like, well, what is he really communicating? He's not saying anything. My man's been talking about like, you know, the first 100 days where, you know, we're going to ask really nicely to make everybody wear a mask since before he won the election. And he's still doing it.
Priority groups.
Give us some fucking policies and move on, man.
Which is driven by science. But the problem is the implementation has been too rigid and confusing. If you were to ask most people today, they couldn't tell you who exactly is getting vaccinated. What they do know is there are tens of millions of doses of vaccine sitting unused in freezers around the country, while people who want and need the vaccine can't get it. We'll fix the problem by encouraging states to allow more people to get vaccinated beyond healthcare workers and move through those groups as quickly as they think we can. That includes anyone 65 years or older, a population that is accounted for over 80% of the.
Yeah, in the state of California, we don't have that yet. Like, California COVID vaccines, I was looking at it earlier this morning for my mom and my grandparents, and like California COVID vaccinations are only tier 1 to tier 3 healthcare providers so far.
Is not where it needs to be, but it will mean that vaccines become available. As they become available, we'll reach more people who need them. We'll reach out and get the vaccine used. The second thing we're going to change, if we're getting more people vaccinated, then we need more vaccination sites. That's where we're going to harness the full resources of the federal government to establish thousands of community vaccination centers. On my first day in office, I'll instruct the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to begin setting up the first of these centers. By the end of our first month in office, we will have 100 federally supported centers across the nation that will ultimately vaccinate millions of people. Think of the places that are convenient and accessible: school gymnasiums, sports stadiums, community centers. We've already had productive conversations with bipartisan groups of county officials, mayors, governors, tribal leaders, leaders of the private sector, who shared their ideas with us about this effort. And as we build them, we're going to make sure it's done equitably. We're going to make sure there are vaccination centers in communities hit hardest by the pandemic, in Black and Latino communities and rural communities as well. Within the first month of our administration, we're going to deploy mobile clinics, moving from community to community, that will partner with community health centers and local primary care doctors to offer vaccines to hard-hit and hard-to-reach communities in cities, small towns, and in rural communities. And to staff up these centers, we will mobilize thousands of clinical and non-clinical professionals. Think of the people that we deploy in natural disasters. Experts from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, from FEMA, and the Center of Disease Control, our Public Health Service Commission Corps.
What's the
our
gamble
military
on
medical personnel, our first responders. Additionally, we're going to expand the pool of medical
we talk
professionals,
about the stimmy,
including retired healthcare workers, who can administer the vaccine.
Wow, this is a really good one, boys.
To meet the nation's needs as we ramp this up.
Will he talk about the stimmy gamba now, boys? The Hasanabi is open.
Reimburse states 100% when their National Guard is deployed in the fight against COVID. We'll provide resources to help states cover the cost of personnel, vaccinators, administrative staff,
closed? Oops.
as well as supplies like dry ice and laptops and protective equipment. The third change we're going to make.
They keep the Hasino open for 10 seconds. I don't know why.
Pharmacies across the country to get the vaccination into more arms as quickly as possible.
You know, be more proactive.
Millions of Americans now turn to their local pharmacies every day for their medicines, flu shots, and much more. We're going to immediately start new major effort, working directly with both independent and chain pharmacies to get Americans vaccinated. This program will expand beyond access in neighborhoods across the country, so that you can make an appointment and get your shot, conveniently show up on a particular time, and get it done quickly.
Okay.
The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to use the full strength of the federal government to ramp up supply of the vaccines. As I said before, we'll use the Defense Production Act to work with private industry to accelerate the making of materials needed to supply and administer the vaccine, from the tubes and syringes to protective equipment. And I've already asked the team, and we have identified the suppliers who are prepared to work with our teams, and we're going to work with their teams. Not someday we're going to go do this. When I say we're going to invoke the Defense Production Act, I said, go out, even though we don't have the authority now, go out and identify those companies that are prepared and will be able to do what
the problem is, first of all, if Donald Trump showed us anything, like, you kind of don't need authority over, like, you kind of don't need like an actual legal jurisdiction to be able to do things, right? You can just kind of bully every governor on the planet to do whatever your fucking bidding is, especially when it comes to a public health crisis. So I don't know why you would even start off with this, like, well, you know, we got to listen, Jack. We got to, like, pay attention to the important things, Jack. You know, we got to make sure that we can't give everybody a mask because we'll ask nicely to give people masks. Like, no, just fucking say you're going to do it and then literally do it. What are they going to do? Like, you know what I mean? What are they going to do? Are they going to say, no, we don't want the mask? If they say they don't want the mask, you fucking bully them.
both the good news as well as the bad. We're going to make sure state and local officials know how much supply they'll be getting and when they can expect to get it so they can plan. Right now, we're hearing that they can't plan because they don't know how much supply of vaccines they can expect at what time frame. That stops when we're in office. We're also promised to provide regular updates to you, the American people, on our progress and our goals. We will be, I promise you, transparent about the decisions we are making and why we're making the decisions. You're entitled to know. Our administration will lead with science and scientists, with the Center for Disease Control, the National Institute of Health, that will be free and totally free from political influence. A Surgeon General who's independent and speaks directly to the American people. The FDA, whose decisions are based on science and science alone, speaking directly to you. Look, while millions of Americans have already gotten the vaccine and millions more are all ready to get it, we also know we need to address vaccine hesitancy and build trust in many communities. We know that's the case, for example, in Black, Latino, and Native American communities. People who have not always been treated with dignity and honesty they deserve by the federal government and the scientific community throughout our history. We also see that disinformation campaigns are already underway to further undermine trust in the vaccines. Our administration will launch a massive public education campaign to rebuild that trust. We'll help people understand what science tells us, that the vaccines help reduce the risk of COVID infections and can better safeguard our health and the health of our families and our communities. It's a critical piece to account for a tragic reality of the disproportionate impact this virus has had on Black, Latinos, and Native American people who are being infected about 4 times the rate of white Americans and dying at nearly 3 times the rate of white Americans. This is unacceptable. It's unconscionable. Equity is central to our COVID response. And the Vice President and I commit to making sure communities of color and rural neighborhoods, those living with disabilities and seniors, are not left behind in our vaccination plans. Look, our plan is as clear as it is bold. Get more people vaccinated for free. Create more places for them to get vaccinated. Mobilize more medical teams to get the shots in people's arms. Increase supply and get it out the door as soon as possible.
Dude, this is nuts.
This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts ever undertaken by our country. But you have my word that we will manage the hell out of this operation. But as I said last night, we need funding from Congress to make this happen. And I'm optimistic. I'm convinced the American people are ready to spare no effort and no expense to get this done. All these steps will take some time. It may take many months to get where we need to be. There will be stumbles. And yes, I know so much has already been asked of you. And when we're sworn in next week,
what's the fucking prediction what's the prediction length for Stimmy?
Following what we know
Please
works.
don't tell me you guys made it for the entire debate or the entire convo.
Is to mask up everyone. The day we're inaugurated, I'm going to ask you to mask up for the next 100 days. This is not a political issue. And I will issue an executive order to require masks where I have the authority to do that. In federal workers.
No, because I want to move away.
On interstate travel, like trains and planes. We'll also be working with mayors and governors in red states and blue states and ask them to require masking up in their cities and their states. Look, I hope we now know this is not a political issue. This is about saving lives. I know it's become a partisan issue, but what a stupid, stupid thing for it to happen. This is a patriotic act. We're asking you, we're in a war with this virus. And experts saying have shown that wearing a mask from now until April will save
Okay,
as many as
dude.
50,000.
All right, I'm losing my fucking mind.
To see members of the Congress while the Capitol is under siege by a deadly mob of thugs refusing to wear a mask while they're in secure locations. I'm so proud of my congresswoman right here in the state of Delaware, Lisa Brunt Rochester, trying to hand out masks while people are lying on the floor, huddled up, and a Republican colleagues refusing to put them on. What the hell's the matter with them? It's time to grow up.
Yeah, let's compromise with those sick fucks,
Result?
dude.
At least 4 members of Congress to date, including a cancer survivor, now have COVID-19 who were in those rooms. For God's sake, wear a mask, if not for yourself, for your loved ones, for your country.
All right, well, I'm running an ad.
These are real.
It's top of the hour every hour. 6-second ad break time.
We need you to stick with hand washing, social distancing,
I'll spare you.
and avoid indoor gatherings with people outside your own household. We'll be a partner to the states and cities.
If you no
So when
longer want to
things
see
are
the ads,
working,
you know what to do, baby.
we'll help
All you need to
do
do is
more
subscribe.
of the good work. And when things can improve, we'll bring
You can do
more
it for
resources to bear to get
$5
folks
or for
tested
free
and
with your
vaccinated.
Twitch Primes, baby.
I promise you, we're going to work
Or
closely
you could
with
just
nonprofits
keep
and with the
watching
private sector.
this. Well, I mean, sorry.
We
Or you can just
know
watch the
all
ad.
want to partner with us in this effort. The more people we vaccinate and the faster we do it, the sooner we can put this pandemic behind us. And the sooner we can build our economy back better and get back to our lives and to our loved ones. As we're seeing during this pandemic, we can't solve our problems as a divided nation. The only way we come through this is if we come through together as Americans, fellow Americans, and as the United States of America. Vice President-elect Harris and I ran on that vision. And starting at noon on Wednesday, that's exactly how we're going to govern and ask for your help. God bless you all and keep you safe.
That's it?
And may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Oh, wow, dude. First of all, believers who thought that he would fucking mention the stimmy, get fucked. Of course he didn't.